Perhaps you're like me and love all things vintage. So how can we harness the advantages of modern lenses but recreate the look that vintage lenses give us? I have never enjoyed using a lens so much as when I rented the Pentax Super Multi-Coated Takumar 35mm f2.0. In fact, I have never thought that I would particularly enjoy a lens at all, but playing around with this lens taught me a lot about what it actually does for the image. Now, modern lenses do have a couple of advantages over vintage lenses for videographers, including myself. They support autofocus and many times can have wider apertures. If you check out my video comparing vintage lenses and modern lenses, you will see some other aesthetic differences that they also have. However, I really can't get over the warmer colors of the Takumar and the way it renders texture. So when I rented it, I filmed many things shot for shot with my Sigma 18-35 art lens to see how different these lenses really were and if I could get the modern lens to look just like the vintage. At the end of this video, I'll share a fun project that I did because of this as well, so be sure to watch this video all the way through and get that. Now, of course, the Takumar does not necessarily represent the look of all vintage lenses, but it's the one that I will be trying to recreate. So let's dig into these shots. Obviously, the biggest visual difference between what these two lenses can produce is the color and the contrast, so we'll start there. By pushing the temperature warmer, the tint slightly to the green, and then most significantly the mid-tones toward the yellow, I was able to get very close color-wise. After that, I reduced the contrast and played with the exposure, highlights, shadows, blacks, etc., depending on the lighting conditions of each individual shot. Now at this point, the shots look very similar. In fact, a quick cursory view, most people that watch these clips, even side by side, won't see much of a difference and certainly wouldn't be able to tell which was a modern lens and which was the vintage. Most of you, however, can probably tell which is which. The Sigma tends to blow out some of the highlights, specifically on skin tones, more than the Takumar. Look at her forehead here, or her arm over here, or his forehead and cheek here. Beyond that, the Sigma is also a sharper look, yet adding a blur globally would only make the image out of focus. Now the sharpness difference here is weird. When I zoom way into the images, frame by frame, I can't really tell the difference in sharpness between the two. Yet as I play the video in real time, there's just something much more crisp about the Sigma and more organic about the Takumar. Regardless, I can't think of a way to change this in post. Also, because of the spherical aberration of the Takumar, the bokeh and areas that are out of focus are rendered differently than the Sigma. I've got another video just about the difference between these two lenses in that area. Right, and this is certainly not something that we can match in post. So at this point, I'm really at a loss for how much closer I can actually get the Sigma to resemble the Takumar, at least without spending gobs of time. So all we're really doing is a color grade, but at the end of the day, these lenses still look different. For the average viewer, yes, I'd give me a passing grade in making the modern lens appear vintage, but for pixel peepers and professionals who have an eye for the genuine thing, no, I get a fail. Certainly when it comes to vintage features like cat's eye bokeh or flares, it's nearly impossible, at least without investing significant time, which makes it simpler and more fun to just invest in the vintage lens and shoot it for real. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I did a fun experimental project with these two lenses. What I did is I shot a commercial for a bike rental company, shot for shot with both the Sigma and the Takumar. I graded each to play to the strength of that particular lens so that one can see the difference that a vintage lens can bring to a client shoot. So if you want to see which you think looks better, then check out that video here. Well, this video has certainly referenced plenty of others to watch, and though I won't be seeing you in any of them, you're sure to see me. Rough.